land with the ninth pick in the draft, and I got Nick Chubb, Nick Chubb for Cleveland, who looked good today, by the
Yeah,
way.
there you go.
Knocked off Joe Burrow and
Who
Cincinnati.
did not look good. Joe Burrow did.
But my team did not look good, and it's not over. It's not over. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? It's not over now. But we're going to lose. My team, Even Stevens, is the name of my fantasy team. But your thoughts on Mel Tucker and what's going on at Michigan State? Do you see him as being the coach East Lansing next week?
Well, there was kind of conflicting reports, and at the beginning it was fired, and now
originally they didn't say he was fired, didn't they?
Yeah, and from what I'm reading, it's basically a formality. They kind of have to go through the legal stuff. So right now he's listed as suspended, and part of that is probably to, like you just said, kind of be able to go that a little bit easier. Which, it's not comfortable to talk about that stuff, in a serious matter that's going on, outside of football here, but it's kind of business. It is kind of what's going on there, and it's something that has to be addressed. It is very strange. I mean, because when this story kind of broke last night, so I was kind of looking into it, and then it, went to bed, just kind of thinking, I don't know, and then I wake up and see Brenda Tracy is the other person involved, and it just kind of takes you back to very strange. I mean, again, you kind of went over it briefly. She was she did not necessarily. She held a grudge against Mike Riley for the longest time,
right?
Because
they kind of made up.
They did.
When he was the coach at Nebraska, she came to speak about sexual assault on college campuses, and it's Mike Riley, I think, legitimately, sincerely apologized to her, and I think she accepted that apology. This is the story. Michigan State football coach Mel Tucker is suspended without pay while the university completes an investigation into the claims that he sexually assaulted a prominent sexual assault awareness speaker after she was hired to speak with the Spartan team. The athletic director, Alan Haller, announced Tucker's interim suspension Sunday, less than 24 hours after news of the claims against the fourth-year coach were made public in reports from ESPN and USA Today. Interim university president Teresa Woodruff appeared alongside Haller at the news conference, but he's been suspended. And I think their defensive backs coach might be taking over as I read down farther here. But suspended with pay while they complete an investigation on Mel Tucker.
Well, too, I mean, because basically from what I've read too, it's kind of, was it consensual or not? Tucker is saying that, it was consensual. It's very strange stuff. Again, with kind of like phone flirtations is, I guess, the best way I can put it, that I don't want to get further into it.
Very weird.
If you have any sort of imagination, you kind of understand what's going on there, but trying to see if that, that was consensual. Not a good look either way for Mel Tucker. Obviously, a married man, has 2 kids with his wives. And again, I mean, this is he brought Brenda Tracy on campus to teach his kids, about sexual assault and awareness and how to keep yourself out of trouble and all that. And then he's the one that ends up getting in trouble. So, I mean, either way, it's going to be a bad look. If you remember, under his lead too, the Michigan kind of fight in the tunnel assault from last year. I mean, it hasn't been necessarily very good, and especially since that breakout season, which is apparently when, these Tracy and Tucker first met and first started talking. But just very strange. And you kind of just have to wait how it all plays out. But it's for a Michigan State program that's dealt with Larry Nassar and all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is a bad look.
A really bad look. Michigan State assistant Harlan Barnett will serve as an interim head coach in Tucker's absence. Former Spartan head coach Mark D'Antonio is also returning to the team to serve as associate head coach starting this week. It's kind of a Barry Alvarez thing. They did that at Wisconsin when they were going through coaching changes, but very odd times. And I could see that, bringing back Mark D'Antonio, kind of calming the waters. Nebraska kind of did that with Tom Osborne when they were going through athletic director problems after Sean Eichhorst actually when Steve Peterson went through that mess, they brought back in Tom Osborne to the helm, and then Sean Eichhorst came in as interim, and then ultimately took over, and that didn't work out as well. But Michigan State certainly having their problems. Let's move on to Nebraska. What we learned yesterday, and I think the thing that we learned is the thing that we thought we learned already from game number 1 against Minnesota, is that Nebraska has quarterback problems. What we saw against Minnesota happened again, this time more via the fumble than the interception. But now Jeff Sims has 6 turnovers in 2 games. He threw 3 interceptions against Minnesota. He had 2 fumbles and really 3 fumbles.
Yeah, one doesn't count against him, but
one doesn't count against him, but it should.
Yeah,
it was just a bad handoff. And then he had 1 interception. So he had 3 total turnovers. As we mentioned, he has 37 touchdowns, or what was the stat? Like 37 touchdowns and 27 picks in his career. 31 touchdowns and 27 picks in his career as a starting quarterback. And we had heard, hey, he's accurate. He was just in the program at Georgia Tech. We can fix him. We kind of heard similar things in the Scott Frost era. Hey, we can fix his throwing motion, whether you're talking about whoever, McCaffrey at one point, or when Adrian was going through some problems with interceptions. Hey, we can fix the throwing motion. I've always said quarterbacking is pretty much like being a great shooter. Either you have it. Yes, you can refine it. You can make it better. But it's tough to make somebody who is not a good, or just doesn't, and I wouldn't even call him a bad passer. I would just say that he seems somebody that doesn't see the field. He just doesn't see the field at a high level right now.
Yeah, it's really hard to even look at this last game because he threw for 100 yards. I mean, they didn't really go to try to fling the ball around.
But that's the problem, Bach. I mean, you're only throwing 15 times a game. You can't throw an interception if you're only throwing for those numbers. He threw 19 times against Minnesota and threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're only going to throw that many times, you can't have 4 picks in 2 games.
No, and then you throw the fumbles in there. And then what bothered me more than just the fumbles was when it did happen, it didn't like jump on the ball. It was kind of like even the one time where it hit his man in motion, he just threw up his arms like he was upset and frustrated. Maybe he should be, but the ball's on the ground, and Nebraska thankfully recovered that one. But part of it has to be if you're and I know he's going through some things, getting frustrated, but you have to at least recover the ball, or that's gonna hurt you even more. I mean, no, this is not sustainable. There's no, I know they feel like he's their best quarterback, but you can't have 4 turnovers a game and expect to win. That was the surprise with the Minnesota game. They were -3 in the turnover category, and they only lost by 3.
Stunning.
Well, more often than not, it's going to turn out like this Colorado game if you're -3 in the turnover.
Well, Colorado scored 16 points off turnovers, and you just take away those 16 points, Nebraska's in the game.
Yeah.
Because in many of those, in a few of those cases, the first turnover, they're ready to score. They're ready to score numerous times. And I think you could see the defense deflate. I thought the defense played pretty well overall. If there's one of the things that I've learned over the first 2 games and learned again on Saturday, is this defense, and a fairly young defense in various spots, really runs to the football. They play hard. They're not perfect by any means, but they were up against what I think will be a Heisman candidate. Pick your Heisman candidate. Is it Shedeur Sanders, or is it Travis Hunter? Or maybe it's Dylan Edwards. Who knows where Colorado will end up.
Xavier Weaver's starting to.
Xavier Weaver had the best game of all of them.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 legitimate guys that certainly are all league performers, and maybe even more than that. And I thought that defense basically should have had a shutout, right? They should have had a shutout for an entire half.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see to evaluate that, especially the defense. I know they were left on the field, or what felt like forever. Ultimately, time of possession wasn't all that different. So they each had the ball about the same time, but it was almost just like hope. At some point, you're going to lose hope because you're just being put in all these bad positions. You start, and so the snowball just started rolling downhill in that defense, and so it's kind of weird too. I don't know. I think that they played a good 2.5 quarters, and then it kind of unraveled because they did end up giving 455 yards and 36 points. That's not a defensive performance, but again, it to me, it just at some point they lost hope. They
But if you
lost
would
a
have told me
chance
at
to be
the
in that
start
game.
of the game, I would have thought that's pretty good. If you
Yeah.
had told me at the start of the game that's what they were going to give up, I would have thought that's probably less than I expected, because I saw them put up 565 yards against TCU, who played in the national team
Yeah.
the week before. So Nebraska did better than TCU, and I'm pretty sure that TCU still has some decent talent from a team that played in the national title game. By the way, we are on the Sutter Heyman live stream. You can watch our live stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and on Allo channel 95.1. But I thought that was, and has been, one of the good signs is Nebraska has some defensive talent. Cameron Linhart's the real deal.
Yeah, that was good to see.
2 sacks in that game. That is the most by a freshman since Barry Turner did it. Barry Turner played under Bo Pelini. I think he started out under Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
And finished under Bo Pelini. But that's been a while since a freshman has had that kind of performance. But you're also seeing guys like Princewell, Yellen, who I think has stepped up. I've got other guys that are, Blaze Gunnarsson has played well from time to time. Makai Gabor, I think, has a chance to be a really good linebacker at Nebraska. Man, you'd like to think if you could just change the offense to the point where you go spread option, try to give me a couple 100 yards rushing every game, give me some easy passes for the quarterback, melt the clock, maybe go to a quicker tempo than you've been running so far, and don't turn the ball over. It seems easy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even like Nebraska's taking many chances. They're one of the few teams in college football that huddle. They take their time getting to the line of scrimmage, and they still screw up.
Well, and I don't think that there's a simple solution to this. I mean, Nebraska, I don't think it has the talent on the perimeters. I think the running backs are okay. I think the offensive line might be slightly improved for one of the worst offensive lines in the FBS last year. I mean, I think there are problems beyond Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims obviously being the biggest one because of the constant turnovers. But I don't know. I mean, I think they could switch this up, but you kind of have to ask yourself, what is this year about? Is it about trying to scratch out 5 or 6 wins and get to a bowl game, and maybe that kind of gets you going, or is it about laying a foundation and getting in running the offense that you want, that you envision recruiting to in a few years, and that you envision working ultimately? Because that's what they believe in this pro style offense, and I think that's long term makes a lot of sense for where we are geographically, where Nebraska has historically done it. But it's, I mean, because they can switch up this offense and maybe they go to a spread and maybe get to 23 points per game, but I mean, they're not going to light the world on fire one way or the other. And then I think part of this defense and protecting this defense is to kind of lean on the clock and try to kind of grind that out as much as you can, which you can do better from this style. So it just kind of depends on what they want to do from here. I do think that the sky is not falling as much as we may think it is. Playing Minnesota and Colorado out of the gate, a lot of these teams. I mean, Michigan State we just mentioned is 2-0 because they're playing roast beef state.
Yeah, they are.
Nebraska's got a few of those games coming up. Now they could lose to Northern Illinois.
Illinois lost to Kansas.
They lose to Louisiana. I mean, Kansas is pretty good.
Purdue's 1-1.
Yeah.
I mean, there are teams that are. I mean, Nebraska has the worst record in the Big Ten. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no other team in the Big Ten that is 0-2 right now.
Yeah.
But there's also no other team in the Big Ten that has played teams like Colorado and Minnesota in their first 2 games. That was the worst schedule that you could possibly have gotten. And you thought maybe we'll get one against Colorado. They were 1-11 last year. They're the worst team, one of the worst teams in college football, maybe Northwestern. And now you look at Northwestern, they won yesterday. Maybe you won't beat Northwestern. It feels like the sky is falling. And I thought, well, the sun will come up tomorrow, and then it didn't.
It's raining out today.
It's raining out there. It was cloudy all day. The sun did not come up. So if you were looking for that little smile to come to your face, no, it didn't happen. But I still believe that Matt Rule's the right guy. I do think he did himself a little bit of a disservice by saying you don't know how good these guys are going to be. And I understand that you hype your players, But I think he was quoted as saying he'll play. He's a pro,
He's an NFL guy, yeah.
and he said that about numerous guys on this roster.
Yeah.
And I don't think you know that until you know that. And I don't think it's always good to say about a guy, a running back, hey, he has fumble issues. And we don't play guys that have fumble issues. Well, now your quarterback has fumble issues. How are you going to backtrack that?
Yeah. And Anthony Grant didn't get a carry yesterday. And it's clearly being put on the shelf because of those fumbling issues. And I don't know. Again, I just don't know if you have the talent to do that. I mean, and Gabe Ervin was running fine. They kind of started to open up and get some big runs on Colorado going into halftime, and then all of a sudden coming out in the second half. It was 29-7 before you turn around. They couldn't keep doing it. So I kind of understand why they went away from the run, but that's something. Again, I think we have to remain patient with this team, and I think you're very mad if you came into this year thinking they're going to win 7 or 8 games. But if you're like me and you
I thought they'd win 7 games.
Let's see. Well,
I was dead wrong.
That's the problem, though. I mean,
I was drinking the roulette,
right.
and I swore that I wouldn't do it. And then before the season, I swear I was going to go 5-7. Well, and then I went 7-5.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I mean, that's part of being a fan. You don't want to have an optimistic view, but I think a very realistic view is this a team that hasn't been to the bowl game since 2016. They kind of patched together a team last year, and while there were some nice flashy stats there, that team went 4-8. I mean, and yes, Dion has kind of flipped the narrative on what a rebuild means. But a lot of people have kind of been arguing whether or not that's, whether you can replicate that, or if that's Dion, or if it's the fact that he has, he's gone out there and got, like you said, some all-league guy at quarterback who's his son.
84 players. They brought in 84 players, and we all sat here during the offseason and said, that's a mistake. You can't do that. These guys don't even know each other. There was that story earlier, just a couple of weeks ago, that they were fighting in practice, and he was mad that other guys weren't fighting for guys that they didn't know. But he's built it in an insane amount of time. And I guess it shows you, the NFL does it all the time. You bring in free agents, sometimes, 10, 12, 15, and you can change your entire organization by doing that. You bring in a Travis Hunter and should do with Sanders, you could change your whole culture just with those two guys alone.
Yeah, and I think that's why this thing is so crazy. And I know some people are thinking, well, the nation's getting overboard on Colorado and it's Dion, and I do agree to a degree with that. But you have to understand who Colorado was before these 2 games. Yeah. They were Kansas. We give Lance Leipold all the credit in the world for going 6-7 at Kansas last year, and he deserves it because they were down in the doldrums like 2 or 3 wins a year for the last 15 years. Colorado's the same way. And somehow he's been able to turn this around. And again, I don't know if any coach out there can just do it like this, but I do tell you this, with the new way the NCAA is, allowing the transfer portal and all, and NIL and all this stuff, people are going to try to replicate that. So there are going to be some total roster overhauls in the next couple of years. Maybe you don't need this slow build, but I urge Husker fans to have patience, because the slow build is the way that Matt Rule, that's what you hired on his resume.
But also Matt Rule got suckered into trying to win right now. Remember that quote that he said, I don't want year number 2 to be year number 1.
Yeah.
Meaning that you're kind of starting from scratch all over because maybe you played the older guys trying to win in year number 1 and it didn't work out. And now you're playing the younger guys in year number 2. I still think the slow build with the older guys is the way to go. If nothing else, these younger guys will see what these older guys are doing, because there are some good examples, despite the fact that Nebraska has lost their first 2 games. They should be 1-1 by any stretch. They should be 1-1 right now. But I know what he meant by that, because he's always been a guy that at Temple picked the younger guys, played them right away, knowing that they weren't going to win that year number 1, but they were building for year number 2. Did the same thing at Baylor. Now, those were different situations. We talk about what's going on in Michigan State. Baylor certainly had their problems with sexual assault. He was trying to deal with that while coach a football team. I can't even imagine what he was going through. So he thought this scenario, I don't think he was lying to us when he thought that Nebraska could win now. I still think, when he said yesterday at the podium, I think we're a good team. Yeah. I don't think he's lying. I think he means it.
If they can clean up the turnovers, you win the first game. And, again, and it's just one. I mean, you could just take away one of those turnovers against Minnesota. But then I think there are going to be some games that are like this. I don't think there's a whole lot of them left on the schedule. But Michigan's going to be a bloodbath. I don't care how quick you want to turn it around. That you're going up against a top 5 program right now, not team, program.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, if we still look down the schedule, and I know there are a lot of people are thinking, well, I don't think they're going to do this or that. And again, it's going to be tough to get to a bowl game, but that was how it was always going to be if you're realistic about it. Still, I'm not counting Nebraska out against Northern Illinois or Louisiana Tech or Illinois or Northwestern or Maryland
against those teams.
Well, but I'm saying there's still 7 or 8 games left on the schedule where I think after watching Nebraska in 2 games, thinking they can still win those games.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be hard, and I don't expect them to win every one of them because they got to get over the hump. They got to learn how to win. But Colorado's not the team we thought they were entering the season. So we have to just kind of accept that and say they're going to be one of the tougher opponents Nebraska plays this year.
Off the Sutter Heyman text line, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, both Walter and Williams say you're complaining about the schedule now. Just look at it next couple of years.
Yeah,
and that is true. When you lose games that you should have won, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, USC, UCLA, Oregon are all coming up. Then the pain really starts because it's not going to always be, a loss followed by here comes Northern Illinois or here comes La Tech, and we can get well fast. The schedule is going to get harder and harder. And now Colorado says they want to play Nebraska every year. Can you imagine adding that to the non-conference schedule? And then having USC and UCLA and Ohio State and Michigan every year. Yeah, I probably shouldn't complain about the schedule because it's only going to get more NFL style in the years to come.
Well, and that's what's frustrating too, real quickly, is that, not just that Nebraska hasn't been able to get off the mat since that 62-36 loss to Colorado in 2001. That kind of started the avalanche where we are now. But the other part of that problem is they did that while being in the Big 12 North and the Big 10 West for all those years. The 2 of the easiest divisions where your schedule does line up for you all along for that period of time. It's going to be harder in the next 20 years schedule-wise than it was in the past 20 years.
Yeah. We'll see where Mike Melby wants to go. He is homesick, but he did agree to call in. I'm still going to make him work, even if he's sick.
That's right, yeah.
So he'll be we'll call him. And we'll talk to Mike Melby, former voice of the Lincoln Stars. He's on this show. Of course, he was at Eagle Raceway for years as a track announcer, very experienced. He was at the Blaze. He was a rock jock at one time. Hope you listen to the show on a regular basis. We like doing it. Bach is in tonight, 5 to 7 every Sunday night. It's called Husker Rewind. Mike Melby is on the way next.
General contractors, business owners, property owners. The success of your business requires doing business with the right people. And the right people, when it comes to drywall, acoustical seams, and specialty products, are at Premier Drywall. Kevin and his crew will give your project the response and attention it deserves.
You'll get all of the attention to detail and quality that you would expect from someone who's been in the business for 30 years. For your new builds, build-outs, or renovations, reach out to Kevin. Kevin at PremierDW.com. Premier Drywall in Lincoln.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
No, for but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose between getting medicine or groceries? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day and never leave hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
Sandhills Global is hiring. Check out sandhills.jobs for more information. Sandhills is looking to fill hundreds of new openings in sales, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Sandhills has a professional culture and is fast-paced with a focus on growth, innovation, and leading-edge technologies. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Apply today at sandhills.jobs.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Imagine a world where no one explains the rules of the game. Just go out there and do your best, kid. But your best isn't good enough. Junior Achievement is working on leveling the playing field. We need your support. Suit up. It's game time.
Visit ja.org/volunteer.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Construction, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding area. Bauer provides work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with the fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
Tune into 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits 0 for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran for 90 minutes after the Jay Foreman postgame show. Sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Precat, and Action Plumbing, ED, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Summer is winding, but there's no reason to put your golf clubs away. Double Eagle Golf makes golf leagues and events possible year-round. Sign up today for 9-hole leagues this fall, any day from Monday to Friday, starting on September 25th. Check out their deals on monthly memberships and schedule your hustle parties, birthday or bachelor parties, corporate and team outings, or just a good old Saturday with the boys. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Call today at 402-742-0140.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook, their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Based on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Tom Stevens, Jake Bachhoven. Normally Mike Melby is here, but he's been sick all weekend. And after watching that game yesterday, I'm guessing he's probably even sick. I hope he's still alive. Mike, you still around?
I kind of am, yeah. Yeah, it was one of those. First of all, before we get going, I've got to give a major shout out to your co-host tonight, Jake Bachhoven, for all the work that him and his lovely wife Maria put in last weekend at Eagle Raceway to do something that, to me, I thought was really stupid. You don't go broadcast live from a dirt track for 4 hours with cars racing while you're trying to do it. And rotate through, I don't know, 60 laps or whatever. None of it would have happened if it would have been for Jake. We had all kinds of technical issues that it's cell service. It was what it was. It was, all that stuff. But him and Austin did a job, and the thing went off really well. But Bach, man, if I had a million caps, I would tip every one of them to you, your way and Austin's way. Thank you guys so much for what we wound up doing last weekend out of Eagle. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a fun show. Amon Green was on that show. Jake joined us, and of course, engineering everything and making sure we stayed on the air. That was a fun night at Eagle Raceway. To the game, Nebraska was in it for a while. Was there ever a point where you thought, I think they could win this game? Or were you just waiting for Nebraska to fall off a cliff, which they eventually did?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that I was waiting for Nebraska to fall off a cliff. I was just waiting to see if Jeff Sims was going to be Jeff Sims or if he was going to be this new guy that went through the transfer portal and miraculously doesn't turn the ball over all the time. It happened. That was disappointing. Opening drive. That was what drove me the most nuts. And it's probably the thing, as I look back at the first two games, more than anything, and I guess I'm the only thing I'm questioning. Whatever Matt Rule's doing, you know what? He's got a game plan. It's tried, it's true. 2 different times. It's worked much worse predicaments and situations that he walked into than he did at Nebraska. However, the one thing that I guess I'm a little dumbfounded by is, and I'm not saying that Casey Thompson would have been the answer, but he chased off Casey Thompson to some extent. Casey, he had some NIL money here, whatever. He was kind of told he was not going to be the guy with why he went down to Florida Atlantic. And, 2 weeks ago he was great. 280 yards, 5 TDs. This week, he was back to kind of like the Sims did yesterday. A couple of turnovers, didn't play great. But the fact that they don't have a plan B at quarterback is what is astonishing. That's where I guess I'm the most puzzled by what's gone on through the first 2 games. If Jeff Sims reverts back to Jeff Sims at Georgia Tech for the last couple of years, where he's spectacular one play and then he turns the ball over the next play. And turns the ball over a lot, way more than you need to have a starting quarterback turn the ball over in order to make a ball game. I.e., Jeff Sims has never made a ball game, never had been the starting quarterback of a team with a winning record. How do you not have a plan B? How do you think that you're going to, whatever, training or development, if it didn't work, which it has not, obviously, where's your plan B?
Well, maybe plan B.
That's my question.
Well, maybe plan B is Heinrich Haarberg. Maybe they did see enough in him where they didn't feel like they needed to go and get another transfer to replace Casey Thompson. Heinrich did score the final touchdown or threw the final touchdown of the game. Do you think it's too early? Because we asked this question last week to Vershawn Jackson, and basically phrasing it like, hey, is it time to move on from Jeff Sims? Stay with Jeff Sims and try to fix him. And his answer was you try to fix Jeff Sims. What's your answer?
There isn't one. I'll tell you right now, Chuba Purdy's the number 2. It's not Heinrich Haarberg. My understanding is that Chuba Purdy he's a little dinged up. That's why he's not the first guy off the bench. That was my understanding of the whole thing. Why he wasn't the first guy to step in after Sims went down with a high ankle sprain. And I don't think Heinrich Haarberg is the answer. I don't think Chuba Purdy. I don't know. That's the whole thing. He had a couple of bad plays after 3 quarters and 5 minutes. Really good play at Iowa last year, and it just that little bit was missing. But is he the guy that could step in? Maybe that's what they saw was Chuba Purdy. I don't think it's Heinrich Haarberg by any stretch. Not the way he throws the ball. As an athlete, yeah, to me he's Jeff Sims. He's a guy that's going to go run and get you some yards, etc. But can he throw the ball? I don't know. Look at the spring game. What did he complete? 1 pass. I mean, yesterday he was off target all day long, other than a couple of passes. And, good for Thomas Fidone, too, man. The touchdown catch is the icing on the cake on a horrible day. But he got his first catch, and that first catch, man, that's one of those where you're like, that's an NFL catch, where he was kind of rolling out to his right. He broke on the sideline. The pass was behind him. The DB made a great play on the ball, and Fidone just went up and went, no, it's mine. That's what we see or what we expect from Thomas, and figure out a way to get that guy the ball. But outside of that great catch, and then obviously Haarberg found it in the end zone. I don't know that Haarberg's the guy at quarterback. It doesn't seem like Jeff Sims is either. But so that means Nebraska doesn't have a quarterback in 2023. So what do you do?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. Unless, and we talked about this briefly going into the break, maybe you switch to a more of a spread option attack where it's short passes, rollouts. You're trying to run a pro-style offense with a college-style quarterback, and maybe not even a good college style. And that's being mean, I know, but maybe not even a great college-style quarterback. I think that it's time to find out what you have with Haarberg, what you have with Purdy. If Purdy could go, get him ready. If Haarberg you see potential in year 2 or 3 of the Rule era with Heinrich Haarberg, maybe it should be year 1. So you're not. I go back to that comment that Matt Rule had. I don't want it to be year number 1 and year number 2. And if they stay with Sims, it might be year number 1 and year number 2.
And to that point, I want to go away from the quarterback and let's talk about. I want to compare Deion Sanders' philosophy, and I'm not going to get into Shadir Sanders and his. Oh my God, they disrespected my daddy because they said they didn't like him running back dogs. But the he's alluding to is the couple of shots that we know Matt Rule was taking at Dion, basically telling guys, hey, you know where to find me. He's wearing a damn shirt that says, you know where to find me. I mean, you know what I mean? So when Matt Rule said that in the spring, we knew he was talking about Dion. Shadur took offense to it. Whatever, dude, get over it. You're the same guy that was standing as the Nebraska players were walking on the field, showing off your $40,000 Rolex, like you're some big deal. Get it? You're a talented kid, but man, have some humility. Oh, that's right. You're Deion Sanders' kid. You have no class, no humility. Whatever. Move on. But I don't know that the thought process behind what Deion did is wrong. All the guys that were part of the reason in some way, shape, or form of them going 1-11 and losing their last 4 games by an average of 40 points almost, they're all gone. They were run off. They were told to get out of town. The guys that make the mistakes time after time, game after game, they're gone. Guess what? The guys that we've watched for the last 2 to 3 years make mistake after mistake at crucial times in games. What have we seen through the first 2 games this year? Guys that have been here in the past, they're making the same mistakes. Maybe Deion had a point.
Yeah, and clearly that's a kind of big discussion point. Is what is the long-term build for Matt Rule versus the short-term for Deion Sanders. I just gotta give the cat to Deion Sanders because I don't think most of us saw this coming. It's really one of the most miraculous turnarounds that I've seen. Whether it's sustainable or not, we'll see. But that aside, what do you think from the rest of this team? Are you kind of thinking the sky is falling, this team's going to be awful, or do you see enough from that defense that if they can at least just find a way not to turn the ball over, they can win one of these games, albeit kind of an ugly Big Ten West 21-17 type of way? Do you think there's still hope for this team after 2 weeks?
Boy, after Minnesota, I would have said there is. After yesterday, I don't know. I was cautiously domestic. Tom heard me say it numerous times. I thought their floor was 6-6. Excuse me, their ceiling was 8-4. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think the ceiling for this team right now, for me, is probably 6-6. And I don't know that they match last year's record with what I've seen from a turnover standpoint, unless they figure out a quarterback that can go out and not turn the ball over, and they can get offensive linemen that don't start, that don't blow assignments and give up sacks, running backs that don't fumble. I mean, it's all these little things, and it's all on offense. That's the thing. Special teams yesterday was off. They weren't great. They weren't great yesterday, yet they were average. Versus, I don't know, the last 5 years when they weren't great, they sucked. So, I mean, we know that special teams unit and Ed Foley and those give us opportunities. It didn't happen yesterday, whatever. That part I'm not concerned about because obviously not concerned about. But until they can stop turning the damn ball over and until they can stop jumping, having a false start on 2nd and 4 at the 32, it's all these, are you kidding me plays? Yeah. And oh, by the way, yeah, you did this last week. Oh, you did this 8 freaking times last year. Like, what is the problem? That's where I don't know. I don't know if they can win 4 games this year. I think the ceiling is 6.
Well, he's obviously still sick. Mike Melby.
No, he's just sick. I don't even know why, because that's the whole thing. Is why did I think they could go 8-4? They had a quarterback that was coming in that did nothing to turn the ball over at Georgia Tech. Why did they think it was going to be any different here? And so who knows?
Yeah, I agree. Mike, get well. We'll see you next week. We appreciate it.
All right, man. All right, take care.
There you go. Mike Melby, my co-host on this show every week, every Sunday night, 5 to 7. It's called Husker Rewind. Bach is in tonight. We appreciate it. I want to do the grades, Bach. It's something we used to do on our show. I'm bringing it back for this show as well. Give me a letter grade. Offense, defense, special teams, against the run, that type of thing. And it's going to be harsh this week. I don't think there's a way that we can be kind. We'll try to be a little kind to each other, but to the team, that's going to be very difficult. Anyway, we'll do our grades, and we'll come back right after this. Jake Bachhoven, Tom Stevens, more on the way.
An energy tip from LES. Schedule a furnace or heat pump check to ensure your heating system runs at its peak efficiency before winter arrives. Learn more easy ways to save at les.com.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer. Best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for Shuffleboard Corner. Come on Sundays for open house league all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start of the week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern in the heart of Havelock.
You finally finished your man cave in the basement. Brand new furniture, huge TV, and all of your collector's items. You're ready for football season. We're so excited until one bad rain and it is all ruined. Don't let the flooded basement and countless dollars in damages when it can be avoided. Call John Henry's today for a free sump pump estimate for your home.
45, 55, 55. John Henry's coming.
Summer is winding down. There's no reason to put your golf clubs away. Double Eagle Golf makes golf leagues and events possible year-round. Sign up today for 9-hole leagues this Monday to Friday, starting on September 25th. Check out their deals on monthly memberships and schedule your Husker watch parties, their bachelor parties, corporate and team outings, or just a good old Saturday with the boys. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street. Call today at 402-742-0140.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always,
Break with Sip and Jake.
Nick is here. What'd you call him earlier? He had a name. He said, can you hear Nick?
I said you look like a big swimming pool. You look like a big swimming pool over there. You can swim.
All right. Should I tell the people what you called me the second week that I have coached you?
Track record. Early Break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
Brown has all types of shoes for you to sell this fall. Check out their large variety of tennis shoes and dress shoes in brands like Brooks, Hoka, Barrel, On, and many more. Browns has the local professionals to get the proper fit, aided by their high-tech foot scanner by Atrex. Stop by Brown Shoe Fit today, just south of 60Q in Lincoln, or check out their options online at brownshoefitco.com.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Sunday Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. With Jake Bakoven this week, sitting in for Mike Melby, who's ill. He's on the IR for this week. He'll be back next week. NFL scores, of course, on Thursday night. The Chiefs, their reign is over. The Lions beat them 21-20. So the Chiefs are out of it. They're not going to do anything this year. Right. The Lions really could win that division, could win the North this year. It seems wide open without Aaron Rodgers in it. Although the Packers look pretty good with Jordan Love so far, winning 24-14 last check over the Bears. Other games today, Commanders over the Cardinals. 49ers destroyed the Steelers, had the Jaguars beating the Colts. Falcons over the Panthers earlier today. What else? Saints just barely get by the Titans. You had the Browns in a big set over the Bengals 24-3. The Ravens knock off the Texans. My Vikings go down to the Buccaneers. That's a tough loss. And then other games going right now, as I mentioned, Packers over the Bears. That's in the fourth quarter, 15 minutes left to go, 24-14. Rams over the Seahawks with 11 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Other games, just the Raiders are going to go to the Broncos. The Broncos are going to beat the Raiders. There's just 3 seconds left to go in that game. 13-10. Chargers and the Dolphins in a good one. 2 minutes left in the third. The Dolphins lead the Chargers 27-24. Eagles over the Patriots in the fourth, 19-14. Updated there on the NFL. Your Cardinals didn't do very well today.
That's good. I think we're tanking, so I'll go ahead and a loss is better than eking out a win against Washington.
Who's the first pick going to be this year if you tank?
Well, they want. I think Caleb Williams is the idea, but he doesn't. He's already came out and said that if he didn't name the Cardinals, but he said if he doesn't like the team that's drafting number one, he might return to college.
I thought he transferred to Wendy's.
Yeah, there was something about that on the commercials. By the way, I thought it was hilarious, and everybody's already mentioned this though. The third quarter Jeff Sims Amigos commercials that were coming on during the game. Like, I'm sure Amigos are just like, no, not right now. You got to do those at the beginning of the games, I think.
By the way, what do you think of the pregame with all of the announcers on Fox Noon, Big Noon? After they interviewed him, they all got up and hugged Dion. I've never seen anything like that with the coach. They were all it was a big hug fest.
Yeah.
But except for Dion went over and hugged Urban Meyer. So it's like, man, the reverence everybody has for him is crazy.
Well, it's taken over. Their college game day and Big Noon are going to Colorado State next week. I mean, it's not a great week of college football as far as like the matchups are concerned to begin with, but he's taken over, and Joel Klatt said it too. It's not just college football; it's sports. I mean, this is the biggest story.
I know. I haven't seen numbers on the game, but the numbers have to be huge from yesterday, even with a blowout.
Yeah, maybe it started to trail off there at the end, toward the end. But
I certainly left to go play golf.
Did you leave before the end?
It was over.
It was
you
over,
can't blame me for that. It was.
I don't blame you. I just wondering. I think I heard that from a lot of people. I usually sit and just make, see if the backups can get something done. And they did get something done. So I'm glad I stuck around.
Well, I had it recorded so I could see the highlights there. What you want to help me out over here, Bach, because I want to play the grades. And there's something on that particular pot, and you know what's going on. You know how to fix stuff that I don't. It's like always the homeowner knows what's going on with the car, or the car owner knows what's going on with the rattling. That's what Bach is. He's been here so long. He hears a rattle in the board, and he knows how to fix it right away. But let's get to the grades. They weren't all bad. Nebraska did some things well. Total offense, Colorado 396, Nebraska 341. Colorado with a few more first downs than Nebraska in the game. In the run game, Nebraska wasn't horrific. They averaged over 5.4 yards a carry. Gabe Ervin, 17 carries, 74 yards. Jeff Sims, 10 carries, 67 yards. As we said, no Anthony Grant on the day. Ramir had 66 yards. All told, 41 carries, 222. I will say this. Just 2 carries came for, they had 83 yards on 2 carries alone. The Jeff Sims scramble. There was one other, a big run.
The Ramir Johnson one against the backups.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see them over 200. And that made sense. But.
So it's a little deceiving, but you throw in 3 fumbles in the run game. I can't do any better than a C- in the run, even in the run game. With the 3 fumbles, it's almost, you could say F even in the run game, and I would understand. What are you going to give him in the run game?
Yeah, shout out to Gabe Ervin here, because I thought he was starting to get some things going there. Occasionally, probably missed a hole or two, but in any case, I thought he did pretty well. Like I said, I'm not counting Ramir's 44 yards. If you take that one away, and I don't know how many other carries he had on that drive, but he got some carries. I thought it was interesting. Anthony Grant they did get the long touchdown. I think he can go D+. So
your grade is worse than mine. I went C-, but they did do some good things in the running game, but not well enough. And the 3 fumbles cancel everything out for me.
Yeah.
Versus the run, Nebraska was pretty good. They allowed 1.6 or 0.8 per carry. Colorado, 33 attempts for only 58 yards. Dylan Edwards had 55 of those yards. I'm going to give them a B. I thought they were pretty good against the run.
I don't think that's what they can, kind of say so far. They have been. I mean, Minnesota, if you paid attention to
they were really good yesterday.
Yeah, they had
football.
like 300 yards rushing or something. So, and granted, again, they weren't playing a big name school or anything, but that's good. And a lot of this is helped by the sacks and in the pass rush, which I'm sure we'll get to. So, you kind of have to factor that in there too. But Colorado doesn't try to run too much. And they kind of started breaking them off late too. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. But I think they did pretty darn well. I'd give them a B plus. I mean, if you allow 58 yards one way or the other, that's pretty darn good.
That's really good. I understand Colorado's not good running the football, but Nebraska played them pretty well, I thought, overall defensively. In the pass game, there's no way to put it. Nebraska was miserable. Jeff Sims, 9 of 15, 106, 1 pick, no TDs. His QBR for the day, mostly because of the 2 fumbles, but really should have been 3. He had another 34. 2 weeks in a row, his QBR was 34. Billy Kemp did get into the game. That was good to see. 5 catches for 57 yards. Nate Borkircher had 2 catches, 33 yards. Fedoni had the touchdown, 2 catches, 13 yards. Washington I think they need to target Washington more. 1 catch, 13 yards. But overall, I'm going to say D-. I could go F.
Yeah, and again, not counting the final drive. Shout out to Heinrich Harburg for getting it done. But against the backups, that doesn't do too much for me. So if you're just looking at the starter, 106 yards passing, you throw in the fact that Harburg and Purdy kind of had that combined drive that didn't get anything going there. Like you said, got Kemp and Kemp and Borkircher had to make some like really great sideline catches when they were wide open to begin with. So I mean, even that it didn't look great. You did have a few drops to go against them, but at least they got Kemp going. Again, I mean, it's going to be hard to grade anything on this offense to me over a D plus. So I'll go D-. If you're grading on a curve, maybe because Nebraska's terrible. I thought they did a good job of not taking as many chances in this game.
Yeah.
But no.
To some extent, this might be a useless exercise, but you make a good point. Sometimes when guys are wide open, the pass is so bad. Yeah. And in many cases, if it's a good pass, guys could run after the catch. Yeah. They're never allowed to run after the catch because the passes are so bad.
The one pass that was really good, Alex Bullock dropped. Then,
that's right.
So there it is.
Against the pass, I'm going to go C-. Shadir Sanders had 31 of 42, 393, 2 TDs. His QBR was 68, not spectacular, but Xavier Weaver had a good day, 170, 1 TD. Travis Hunter, another nice day, 3 catches, 73. He goes both ways. Jimmy Horn had a pretty good day, 64 yards. I will say this. Nebraska had 8 sacks. They had 8 sacks. Cam Linhart had 2. He's the first freshman to do that since Barry Turner, by the way. That was impressive. And I like the fact that Nebraska doesn't just hang back and play in zone. They're going to make you beat them. Fine if you beat them, but you're going to have to beat them. And I like that about Tony White. He's aggressive. Yeah. He's really aggressive. So I can't go any better than a C-. But I thought they were okay against the pass. And I probably should give them a higher grade, really, with the 8 sacks.
Well, this is a hard exercise because I don't even know what to make of the defense because the numbers look bad. And so.
So you don't trust that the defense might be good.
No, I like that's why I say this is hard because I like the defense. I love the performance for 2.5 quarters, and then at a certain point. They're just the offense.
You give them any help though. They're in that game.
That's what I'm saying. The defense and the numbers would have looked a lot better if you have any sort of offense that didn't put them in that hole. So it's hard, and they had a lot of big third down stops, but again, the snowball started rolling up against them. There was at one point where Colorado scored on 7 of 8 possessions, and again, some of those are short fields, but that's not good. So 8 sacks. Nebraska, by the way, tied for the nation's lead in sacks right now.
I did not know that.
So that is impressive. A lot to do with that 8 sacks yesterday. But
doesn't Nebraska have the Big Mac sack thing?
Yeah,
I bet a lot of people are eating at McDonald's this year.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. I think you can go and get yourself two Big Macs for the price of one.
And they do that for the road games as well, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I'm sure it goes for all year. So Big Mac, we're going to eat at McDonald's all year long.
If you can put down 2 Big Macs, I tried that. I've tried that before. That's a lot of calories at once.
You know when I could do it? The weirdest thing is I was good eating 2 Big Macs back when I was like 12.
Really? Yeah.
And at that point, I weighed 80 pounds. And I could eat twice of what I can eat now.
Yeah.
It's crazy what I could put away. at 80
Yeah, I
pounds.
don't want to buy. I'm not looking forward to buying my son groceries when he's that age.
Special teams, I give Nebraska a D+. Christian Ovano missed the 45-yarder. That didn't help. Buschini did not have a good day. 4 kicks, 35 yards. He shanked one. So that wasn't good. What do you think about special teams?
Yeah, nothing spectacular. Nothing really to speak of in the return game
Not
either.
horrible, not great.
Yeah, probably C.
Overall, game management, coaching, 6 penalties, 40 yards. But they were just stupid penalties. Colorado actually had more penalties. They had 9 penalties for 80 yards. But the 4 turnovers, the 3 fumbles, it's unacceptable.
Well, I think they went off sides twice too, and there was another play where they so Nebraska had actually more penalties. I think they had like 9, and Colorado just didn't accept them because they made it better plays out of the free opportunities. So yeah, I mean it wasn't great, and again, there's not much you can do as far as management when the turnovers keep coming aboard, but overall it doesn't look great. So yeah, I don't. There's nothing out of this game I've given a B. Or anything above. I don't think I can.
We gave a B against the run.
Against the run,
Against the run, we both gave a B. So that was the best thing that Nebraska did. Overall, I give a D-. In 2 weeks, Nebraska has 24 points, and they have 8 turnovers.
Yeah.
That offense is everything that you could say just be bad, and they would be 1-1. Don't be horrific. How many times have we said that over the last 10 years? Don't try not to be horrific, and you'll probably still win.
And it's funny, too, because Matt Rule was basically made a point of this like a week or 2 weeks before the season opened up, talking about how Nebraska's been in turnover prone. And he said since like 2016 or whatever. And now like the biggest problem is turnovers. And I'm sure you've seen the stats of, all going back to 2004 on Nebraska's like almost more than double the amount of turnovers than the next team.
Even in the Pelini era, they almost never won the turnover battle.
Well, Martinez fumbled quite a bit.
Yeah.
I love Taylor Martinez, but he was a fumble machine.
Yeah.
And they've kind of had quarterbacks like that. But, my exercise that I'm starting to do is like, would I rather have Tanner Lee, Jeff Sims, Joe Daly, Jeff Sims? That's how bad Jeff Sims has kind of been so far, is if you kind of go with the worst of the worst the last 20 years. Nothing against those guys, but it's tough. It's a call. I don't know if you don't pick those guys over Jeff right now.
Well, you pick them all over Jeff Sims right now, and it's not being mean. It's just the truth. That was fun. We gave out some really good grades there. D- overall for me. And what'd you give overall?
I'll give them a D.
Okay, well that was nice.
They showed up.
They did. We move on from the grades. The Big Ten Blitz. We go through every Big Ten game, and at the end, we rank the teams. Where's Nebraska ranked? We'll do that coming up next.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
What would you tell a friend who was on the fence about going to Limitless Mail?
I would tell them to go to Limitless today. Don't hesitate. You're going to second guess yourself on if it's the right decision. The staff there is amazing. The treatments work. I'm living proof that it completely changed your life for the better.
Join thousands of men who have changed their lives with testosterone treatment. Slow down the aging process and live life. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmail.com.
Brown Shoe Vet has 5 shoes for you to excel this fall. Check out their large variety of tennis shoes and dress shoes in brands like Brooks, Hoka, Merrell, On, and many more. Browns has the local professionals to get the proper fit, aided by their high-tech foot scanner by Atrex. Stop by Brown Shoe today, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln, or check out their options online at brownshoefitco.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer, and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the shuffleboard corner. On Sundays for Open House League all day starting at 11 a.m. And enjoy $3 tall boys and $3 wells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke Monday. Don't forget, happy hour is every day from 3 to 6 p.m., and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern the heart of Havelock.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical construction industry? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Summer is winding down, but there's no reason to put your golf away. Double Eagle Golf makes golf leagues and events possible year-round. Sign up today for 9-hole leagues this fall, any day from Monday starting up September 25th. Check out their deals on monthly memberships and schedule your Husker watch parties, birthday or bachelor parties, corporate and team outings, or just a good old Saturday with the boys. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Network Complex on West O Street. Call today at 402-742-0140. Your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all.
Hang down, flip it and reverse it.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome back. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and also on Allo, channel 951. He's Jake Bachhoven. I'm Tom Stevens. Mike Melby not this week on IR, home sick, but he'll be back next week. We do this show every Sunday, 5 to 7. It's called Husker Rewind. And we talk about Husker sports. We're going to talk some volleyball within the next 20 minutes with Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers of all time. She played for Terry Pettit and Coach Cook, 2 Hall of Famers. So she'll weigh in on a sweep this weekend. Actually, not a sweep. Nebraska has now lost 1 set this year. They've only lost 1 set this year. They're 7-0, but we'll find out more because on Tuesday they take on Stanford and Kentucky to follow that. But with such a young team, they are playing some great volleyball, and they are so much fun to watch. If they're on TV, I'm watching. Or if they're at the Vandy Center and I can get a ticket, I'm getting one. We do this as much as we can during the season. It's called Big Ten Blitz. Go through all the games this weekend. Indiana, they get a win, 1-1. They beat Indiana, a terrible football team, but they do win. Indiana actually 560 total yards in that win, and they didn't look bad against Ohio State. So we'll see if Tom Allen can get it rolling for the Hoosiers. Maybe they make a bowl game this year. KU over Illinois. One of the big upsets of the weekend, or not really an upset. I think you might have predicted Kansas anyway to win that game. 34-23, they do win. Jalen Daniels, their quarterback, throws for 277, 2 scores. Devin Neal has 120 yards rushing, and KU wins it. They have 262 yards overall rushing, 2 TDs. Illinois, surprising, Bach, they only get 139 yards on the ground. I thought they would be a better rushing team this year, but you might be concerned if you're an Illinois fan about their inability to run the football so far. Ohio State improves to 2-0, but they have not looked great so far. I don't know if they have a quarterback, even though Kyle McCord threw for 258 and 3 TDs. Ohio State can't run the football. They're another team that cannot run the football. Ran 27 times for 123, 4.6. Versus an FCS school. I know it was Youngstown, who's traditionally pretty good. Bo Pelini's old school. But I didn't think that was very impressive. But Ohio State has so much 5-star talent that it doesn't really matter. They can show up kind of when they want to and still win. Penn State, 63-7 over Delaware. Drew Allar. Is that how it's pronounced, Bach?
Yeah.
Drew Allar. 22 of 26 for 204, 1 TD. Penn State also rushed for 315 yards and 6 TDs. Penn State might be the best team in the league.
They could be, and especially with Ohio State kind of struggling out of the gate. I still have to lean toward Michigan, but it is interesting. It's kind of, they're always slotted in at third. I got to wait till they actually, do something against those other 2 opponents to move them up. But They are looking good so far.
You mentioned Michigan. They beat UNLV 35-7. J.J. McCarthy, a really good day throwing, 22 of 25, 278, 2 TDs. Michigan, though, only rushed for 179 yards, and that's their bread and butter. That was the second game of the 3-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. He'll be back just in time for Nebraska.
Great. Yeah, perfect.
Purdue over Virginia Tech, 24-17. Hudson Card is pretty good, the transfer from Texas, 23 of 34, 248, 1 rushing TD. There was heavy rain in Blacksburg yesterday. 4 inches of rain caused a 5-hour and 27-minute delay, but they got it in. No Akron time for Purdue. They win, and they go 1-1. Iowa, they win over Iowa State. The Cy-Hawk Trophy, is that what they call it?
That's right, yeah.
Your favorite team in the world, Iowa, wins over Iowa State. Cade McNamara is not looking great yet. And he was a little maybe banged up going into the season. We'll see how it progresses for him. But he talked about his love for Kirk Ferentz after the game. It was kind of weird. 12 of 22, 123, 1 pick. Donald Trump was on hand for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there for that game.
That was the joke over the weekend. Who's the most conservative man in the building, Trump or Ferentz?
Who is?
I don't know. That's a tough call.
We'll have that debate off the air. Iowa rushes for only 112 yards. You know, Brian Ferentz has that thing in his contract where the team has to average 25 points for him to keep his job. They're averaging 22 so far through 2 games.
But they're 2-0, so it's weird.
Yeah, but what happens if they go undefeated, but he doesn't get to 25 points?
I don't know.
They have to fire him.
Yeah.
Mom, Dad fired me. Michigan State over Richmond, 45-14. Noah Kim, who, interesting note, DP coached in high school, coached baseball and football in high school. He was 18 of 22 for 392, 3 TDs. DP always said Nebraska could have had Noah Kim if they wanted it. Michigan State rushed for 162, and now they might be looking for a new coach. We'll see.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard the news, Mel Tucker suspended today, sexual assault allegations. We'll see how that pans out. We'll see how quickly that Michigan State decides to move on that. Northwestern over UTEP. Northwestern has a win, but Nebraska doesn't. Northwestern beat UTEP 38-7. Ben Bryant came in, I believe, at halftime at quarterback. He was not great, but he did throw for a TD, rush for a TD. Northwestern ran for 184 and 3 TDs. And it's their first win since they beat Nebraska last year. They had lost 18 of their last 19.
And UTEP's not great, but that was a 5-7 team last year. So it wasn't, it's not a 1-11 or an FCS program or something. So that's actually a pretty impressive victory.
When Fitz stepped down, I thought they may not win a game this year, but they won a game yesterday. Washington State with the big upset of the weekend over Wisconsin, number 19 previously. 19 Wisconsin, 32-21. Cameron Ward, the quarterback for Washington State, who doesn't have a home right now. It's the Pac-2. It's
That's right. Yeah.
Oregon State, and it's Oregon State and Washington State. We'll see if somebody invites Washington State into their league. Maybe the Big 12 will. Cameron Ward had a nice day passing, 212, 2 TDs. He also ran for about 45 yards. Tanner Mordecai, I don't know, 2 fumbles, 278. But Wisconsin has become what Nebraska was. I know Wisconsin had a big day rushing last week. They rushed 29 times, Bach, for 90 yards. 90 yards rushing for Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's what I've said it all along. I don't know. I just don't think they should be deviating from what works at Wisconsin. I know they feel like they've hit a ceiling or something there, and Luke Fickell's certainly a good coach to kind of give it a try, on his defensive side of the ball. But yeah, I kind of somewhat expected. I actually predicted this, that Wisconsin would lose that game, and
look at you go.
Yeah,
you
at
predicted
me.
that?
I knew that. Yeah, you should have asked me.
I knew that. How much money did you take to Vegas and bet on that game? If you knew that.
Yeah,
you bet the house.
I missed some other games, but I won't bring those up.
Maryland over Charlotte, 38-20. Talia Tagovailoa, 25-36, 287. He did have a couple of picks in that game, but Maryland made up for it. They rushed for 243. They win it. Who knows what any of these games mean, but they beat Charlotte. Minnesota over Eastern Michigan, 25-6. You mentioned it. Minnesota rushes for 296 yards and 2 TDs. Ethan Kaliakmanis did not have a big game. He only threw 15 times, but he didn't throw any picks. He threw one. He only threw one pick in that game. But Minnesota kind of does this. They bore you to death, but they win a lot of games doing that. They win 26 or 25-6. Rutgers wins again. They're 2-0. They beat Temple 36-7. Rutgers rushes for 254 yards and 3 TDs. Gavin Winsett, their quarterback, 198 and a TD.
Fact about that game, you know who Temple's offensive coordinator is?
Mike Riley.
Danny Langsdorff. You weren't too far off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wasn't too far off. No, Mike Riley, I knew he wasn't the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So ranking the teams, I've got Penn State number 1. Who do you have number 1 in the? Actually, let's go to the bottom.
Okay.
No, but let's start at the top. I think it's more fascinating to start at the top because then you got to see where Nebraska's ranked.
That's right. Yeah.
At the top, I'm going to go with Penn State, but you like Michigan?
Yeah, I still got to keep those top 2 the way. I've got Michigan number 1.
I got Michigan at number 2. Who's your number 2 team?
Ohio State.
You still have Ohio State number 2.
Oh,
I've got Ohio State number 3.
It's fair. It's fair. I kind of stick to until I see otherwise. But Penn State's looked pretty good so far. I
think Ohio State's got quarterback problems, and they can't run the football. They're loaded with talent, and their defense is pretty good. So they can overcome it because they've got so much talent. Number 4, I've got Iowa for some reason.
Well, yeah. There's a big drop-off after the top 3. I have Iowa as well.
I mean, you could take 4 through 14 and just throw them into a bowl and mix them up.
Well, to be fair to some of those top teams, I don't know about 14, but maybe 4 through 10.
4 through 10.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I've got Maryland at number 5. I don't know why.
I do too because I like their upside, but they did let Charlotte hang around. That was for some reason that game was on NBC and they let them hang around for too long.
Rutgers is number 6 for me just because they're 2-0.
That's not bad. Rutgers has looked pretty good so far. I have them ranked a little lower. I've got I actually have Minnesota ranked there. But again, this is where the drop off starts for me. You can put these teams wherever you want to. To be fair to Iowa and Maryland, I'd probably have a little spot for them. But after that, this is a mess.
8 through 14 doesn't really even matter, does it? Although I'll say that at number 8, or 7, I should say. We had Rutgers at number 6. At number 7, I've got Michigan State.
That's fair. They've won their games so far. I still have Wisconsin. I at least think it was a respectful loss to Washington State.
I've got Minnesota at number 8.
Fair enough. I've got Purdue there. And surprisingly, I didn't expect to have Purdue this high. But that was a good win against Virginia Tech, and they only lost to Fresno State, who's solid by 4.
And I've got Purdue there at number 9. Number 9 at Purdue. I'll just go through them. Wisconsin, number 10. Illinois, number 11. Indiana, number 12. Northwestern, number 13. Nebraska, 14. Well, you've got to put Nebraska there, right? I don't think they're the 14th best team in this league. I actually think they're better than Northwestern, and they're probably better than Indiana. But I don't know who else they would be better than.
Well, and it's such a mess. I mean, it can change pretty quickly. That's the good news for Nebraska. And once they get to play, maybe get 2 wins, you're sitting at 2-2 after 4 weeks, and we could feel a lot better about it. Right now, I agree with you. You can't put them too much higher. I would probably still have them. I think I just have them above Northwestern, and that's a lot of it, just the depth. But Northwestern actually at least went out and took care of business for what they needed to. Nebraska, I mean, if you rank defenses, I'd feel a lot better about this list. But as far as teams overall, Nebraska looks like a bit of a mess. Again, though, I will say this, the sky's not completely falling. I think the matchup with Minnesota, they beat the spread there. That was a 9-win team. Colorado, once again, I'll reiterate, I think that's one of the better teams on Nebraska's schedule. So though it was blowout and it was ugly, I don't think that's going to happen too much more for the rest of the season.
We're going to talk a little volleyball with Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history. I went to the volleyball match at Memorial Stadium.
Did you?
Yeah, 92,003, and I was sitting with my 2 buddies, and we decided that we were the 3.
Yeah, well, you would.
Yeah, we were the 3 that really broke the record. Not that would have taken us 3 because they had already broken the record at 90,000, but it was kind of fun to say that we had broken the record with the 3. This is a team. I don't know how much volleyball you've watched, Bach, this year, but they're starting 3 freshmen. They're starting Harper Murray, the number 1 recruit in the country. They're starting Bergen Riley, the number 1 setter in the country, both just out of high school. Last year they were playing in high school. And they're starting, at many cases, not all the time, but most cases, they're starting Andy Jackson in the middle. And she is a dynamo. I mean, she can leap out of the gym. I don't know if it's ever happened, and we'll ask this. I'm not sure Tanya even knows the answer to it, but I wonder if anybody in the history of college volleyball has won a national title with 3 freshmen starting.
And that, I mean, they've been mixing them in the last couple of years too. And I mean, it might not be as many as 3, but I mean, I think that just shows the recruiting that they've been able to, they've really been able to get the top classes in the last couple of years. And I think with that, that's showing at Nebraska Volleyball Day. You have your pick of the litter.
Yeah. Mike Krzyzewski used to say it all the time at Duke. We don't really recruit. We kind of select.
Yeah.
And John Cook said that as well in a different way. He says we interview about 10 of the best volleyball players every year, and then we select the ones we want.
Oh man, that's
they don't always get them. I mean,
right? Yeah.
Some of the better players choose a Stanford. They'll choose Wisconsin. They'll choose somebody else. They might go to Texas. But he kind of said that, and I don't think he was bragging. He was just stating the fact. I think, was it 3 years in a row Nebraska got the top-ranked volleyball player in the country?
Yeah.
Harper Murray is going to be incredible. Bergen Riley's right there. Next year, Skylar Pierce is coming, the number 1 recruit, and she was at Volleyball Night as well. It's something in this era of NIL that I was not sure that Nebraska could get away with, because you're getting so many girls because of COVID that have turned 23, 24, even 25. And Wisconsin kind of built their team on it a couple of years ago with girls that were 23, 24 years old. And it's just a different level when you have talent, but also the experience to go with it. It's rare what we're seeing, I think, in college volleyball for girls that are 18, 19 years old to play at this level. The thing that I worry a little bit about Nebraska volleyball is, do they peak too early? Because they've lost 1 set. And I understand, the best team that they played so far is Creighton. And that was the team that took 1 set from them. We'll find out more. But if they go through and sweep Stanford on Tuesday, the 5th ranked team of the country, then you're talking about a team that's, I mean, now the questions are disappearing.
Well, and I think too, I mean, we have fun with this, and I know I think the 2000 team was the only one that John Cook had go undefeated. There will be a time where we may feel, Nebraska got defeated at some point.
It's not going to happen ever again.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Not in the Big
again.
Ten.
No, that's what they got. Stanford coming up in the Big Ten coming around the corner.
Yeah,
they'll probably drop a few games, but you talk about peaking too soon. He's usually got them going by the time tournament time's going. So
they're never going to go undefeated again. I don't think any team will in these types of conferences. It would be like saying Nebraska went undefeated and won the national title in 2025 with that schedule.
Yeah.
In football. Like that would be the hardest schedule ever put. I mean, if somebody went undefeated, that's the hardest schedule ever played in the history of college football, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be right up there.
They're going to play UCLA. They're going to play USC. They're going to play Ohio State. They're going to play Michigan. I mean, that's going to be ridiculous.
This Nebraska team,
maybe Oregon.
Yeah,
and maybe Oregon and Washington. What if that? I mean,
and then obviously, if you're in that conversation, you got to play the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, I think that we're going to start grading sports differently, especially football differently. I mean, if you get through the SEC and you're 8-4, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what it's going to be like, the gauntlet that's going to be like in the Big Ten. It's already a gauntlet. It beats you up anyway. But the schedule in 24 and 25 is going to be ridiculous.
Well, and that's why I kind of am enjoying, as a college football traditionalist, I suppose, I am enjoying this last year. Alabama goes down. It means the world right now to college football. Next year, it won't mean that much. It'll be like the Chiefs losing in week 1. It'll be, they can afford 2 or 3 losses and probably still make the playoffs. So I'm still loving this last year of college football where Clemson loses and you're like, well, Clemson's done.
You mentioned it, so I'll bring it up. Texas loses or beats Alabama, so Alabama falls. Clemson already fell to Duke, which is crazy to me, although Dabo's been struggling over the last couple of years with losses like that. Washington State beats Wisconsin. Will this be the year of the upset, you think?
I think so. I mean, because a lot of your teams, like we mentioned with Ohio State too. I mean, there's just a lot of talent left the top programs at quarterback. Yeah. and they're kind of dealing with some problems there. I think Georgia's got an easy enough schedule. I don't know if it'll come up and bite them.
But all the off-season problems they've had.
But they do have a lot of yeah. So I mean, they're getting a different guy arrested every week. Sometimes he's on the team, sometimes he's a coaching staff. You never know. But it's I think that we're going to end for a rocky ride of college football, hopefully, and maybe like 2007, the last year of the true college football. At least again, traditionally, where the regular season matters as much. It'd be nice to have it go out with absolutely no idea of who's going to the playoff because everybody keeps losing.
One of our favorite guests on this show, Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history, played for Terry Pettit and for John Cook. We talk volleyball with her every year during the volleyball season, and it's the volleyball season, so we'll talk volleyball with her coming up next. He's Jake Bachhoven. I'm Tom Stevens. More after this.
If you want all the latest technologies from those big banks, but you also want that hometown feel when you walk in the front doors, choose Midwest Bank. They have top-notch technology. They make banking so easy, and they also have the friendliest staff who will take their time to get to know you and treat you like family. You get the best of both worlds when you choose Midwest Bank. I live on the go, and now I can bank on the go. With Midwest Bank, I have everything I need at my fingertips. I'm ball player Allie Batenhorst, and at Midwest Bank, you'll love banking here.
College football in Lincoln, America. It's your day off right. The A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show. Join the ticket crew as they bring you all the coverage you need to get you ready for the action. It's the A1 Automotive Ticket powered by Sunbelt Rentals. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador. Select Plumbing. Jimmy John's. Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Fleet Beef, your cheese bread on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Arnold's Tavern in Havelock is the place to be this summer and the best place in town for shuffleboard. Come on Wednesdays and learn from some of the best players in town for the shuffleboard corner. Come on Sundays for open house league all day starting at 11 a.m. and enjoy $3 tall boy 3 bells. Shake off the start to the work week with karaoke on Monday nights. And don't forget, happy hour is every day, 3 to 6 p.m., and you are always welcome to bring in your own food. Arnold's Tavern, in the heart of Havelock.
Our sense can tell us a lot. Fresh baked apple pie, good. Cigarette smoke, bad. But what happens when bad things smell good? When secondhand vape smells like strawberries, or mangoes, or cotton candy, and dangerous chemicals have a disguise. That's when people let their guard down around and smoke, even though it's all full of harmful chemicals.
Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association station.
Join us at this year's Ignite Lincoln 15 at Rococo Theater on Thursday, September 14th for an inspiring night of stories that spark change. Your tickets at ignitelincoln.org. Don't miss this chance to be a part of something extraordinary.
Brown Shoe Fit has all types of shoes for you to excel this fall. Check out their large variety of tennis shoes and dress shoes like Hoka, Merrill, and many more. Browns has the local professionals to get the proper fit, aided by their high-tech foot scanner by Apex. Stop by Brown Shoe Fit south of 66th and Q in Lincoln, or check out the options online at brownshoefitco.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to the property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition Wellness specialize in getting rid of people's pain quickly and permanently. For 31 years, they've been extremely successful with advancements in pain relief using spine adjustment, detoxification, diet and lifestyle modification, and more. They are fully equipped to handle the most seasonal athletes, weekend warrior, car accidents, strains, sprains, and more. Is there anywhere you're experiencing pain on your body, or are you fighting decreased energy and depression? Consult Belmont Chiropractic and Novotny Nutrition and Wellness first at 402-476-8619.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Tom Stevens, Jake Bachhoven, Melby sitting out today. He's on the IR, not feeling great, but he will be back next week. Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. I was just thinking about this, Jake. Nebraska is 7-0 in volleyball. They've lost one set. I mean, how many times, Tanya, have you been on teams that won 7 games in a row? Probably did at Nebraska, where you only dropped one set.
You know, I played back in the day when we had to serve to score,
Right.
and there were games where we played where the other team only scored 3 points. So, like the whole match. I would have to say that there were definitely, like, I don't know, there were definitely routes in there, but I don't know, 7, like, to only drop a set in 7 matches or 7 games.
Are you glad that they went to rally scoring? It makes it a better game, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm glad for the TV coverage because you can kind of predict. They basically say that for rally to plan on a minute per point, because just the other team scores 10 or 20. Plan on a minute per point, and that's about what a game goes. And so then the TV coverage can plan a little better. You know, this was back in the day when you didn't get to just push the button and watch what you wanted to watch. It was like during regular TV scheduling where you only could have a window of 2 hours or a window of 2.5 hours. But there would be games that would go like 5 hours.
Right.
Because you don't score unless you're serving. So that can take a really long time.
Yeah, I
do like it for that.
Yeah, that's a lot of volleyball. I love volleyball, but I like the fact that sometimes I can go to a Husker volleyball game and I'm there for an hour and it's great. And Nebraska's won and I can go have a beer. It's great.
Right. That's the point of it.
Yeah. Nebraska threw freshmen, and we talked a little bit going to the break, in Bergen Riley, the setter, Harper Murray, outside hitter, Andy Jackson in the middle. I don't know the last team that won a national title, and Nebraska hasn't done that, and they may not. It's a very good chance they won't. But do you remember a team in recent years that has won a national title with 3 starting freshmen?
Well, we actually have 4. Lainey Choboy starts.
Yeah, well, she does as well. Doesn't play as often.
So
but
it's intense. I mean, I don't know enough about like the Stanford, history, and I have to say that in the national champion is going to have a senior class. It just seems like that is the case. Just from what I remember in the last 25, 30 years, but that doesn't say that anything. I mean, it's 2023, anything is possible. And Coach Cook just said, we just made the impossible possible. So I'm not going to put anything past this team. I mean, at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that going into Stanford, I thought we'd have a chance to win, I'd be like, okay. But after I went to the Kansas State away game, got to sit in the second row and saw a lot of good, connections happening and, developing players. And then I saw that got better in the Long Beach game. So, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about our chances with Stanford. Like, I feel like we have a chance. We're not going to get smoked.
You maybe have one of the better, diggers in Nebraska volleyball history. Certainly one of the best diggers in Nebraska volleyball history in Lexi Rodriguez. You talked about the freshman class. You're still in a debate. Is it Krause or is it Batenhorst? I think that's a little bit of, a mystery going forward. Who wins that battle ultimately? But this feels like a team that doesn't have a lot of holes. Is there any danger in peaking too early in your mind?
I mean, I don't think with freshmen like this, I don't know that we're going to peak at all this season, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to hit this point where we're like, okay, we peaked too early. Now we're only getting worse. Like, Harper Murray's only going to get better and smarter and faster and stronger. And like, she played at a different level against Long Beach. Like, she played angry. Like, she just a dig off of a block that went all the way out of bounds, and she like slapped the floor in front of the band because she didn't touch it. And I'm like, dude, let's play that angry all the time. Like, let's go. So, I mean, I think these freshmen are just getting their connections and their relationships and their, like, there's so many things that they're everything is a first, and all, like, I don't know that they've settled in. Like, I don't know that you settle in until, you know, you get done with the Big Ten, and you can't breathe out. It's just, you're intense. You're just going hard for however many months. I don't know that they're going to peak.
Well, it's interesting too, and you mentioned your expectations have risen after watching the first 7 games for Husker volleyball. Obviously, we mentioned also this is kind of a young team. Nebraska fans are just used to year in and year out a title. What is that a fair expectation this year?
I mean, I think that basketball fans, we went through 5 years with Nicklin Hames as the setter, and we outdid what we thought with at the helm. And I think everybody's excited about what we could do with Bergen, taking the reins. And so can we feel and taste a national championship while our freshmen are here? Absolutely. Are we going to be okay if it's not this year? I think everybody's okay. Everybody's just so glad we're playing such high level volleyball with so much potential. And the same year we had 92,000 fans. Like, the volleyball community is riding a huge high right now. And then you have the football team like crumbling. Nobody cares. Like, I don't even know how to describe the flip flop from 1995 to 2023 of how the volleyball versus football, volleyball versus football. It's just the most wild thing I've ever seen.
At times, I mean, the volleyball team should be playing at Memorial Stadium, and the football team should be playing at that wouldn't be. That would be right. But the volleyball,
we could.
obviously got away with it, set a record that even the football team hasn't set. I mean, that's the biggest crowd at Memorial Stadium, period. Football, anything. You mentioned Bergen earlier, and she's so good. Is she the most important player on this team for you?
I mean, I feel like when she's connecting with all of our hitters, we're running a pretty fast offense. I know that, if you listen to the radio broadcast or announcers, people are talking about how fast we're shooting the outside set. And when we're doing that and she's able to make connections with our hitters, it's just something special. Like, it's just like, finally, it's like this, like when thunder and lightning hit at the same time, and it's just this connection. It's just we haven't had that for a long time. Like, we had Horde, a 4-time All-American, come here, and we couldn't set her. We could never connect with her.
Right.
And now we have connections happening, and it's just like, yes. Like, I didn't even have any words for Andy Jackson on a slide.
Yeah.
I was just like, hands down, like, worshiping her. Like, I don't know what else to do. It's amazing, and it's only going to get better.
Becca Alec seemed to have found a bit of a connection. And obviously, I really like Beeson hitting from the middle. That middle attack has made Nebraska a different team. They're more dangerous with that middle attack, I think.
Yes. I mean, having another player as an option to come out of the middle and smash a ball like that, that's pretty great.
Yeah. What do you think about Stanford Tuesday night? What's going to happen in your mind?
I mean, I don't know that we come out with a W necessary, but I don't know that we have to. I just would like it to be a good game. I would like our girls to walk out of there and say, yeah, in December type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a really good chance for us to say, this is where we're at, and this is where we want to go. And if we pull off a win in the process, great. But if we don't, it's not going to be the defining, part of the season unless, we take that as, hey, this is where we want to be. It was a great battle. We lost, and we're going to push forward, and we'll see in December. But, I mean, there are some great teams out there right now. Florida is on some sort of another. Texas should be. They always are, but they're kind of faltering. And then you have Wisconsin, who's always great. And doing great. So it's like we got to be better than 4. We got to pick 4 that we need to be the best, better than. We have 4 Final Four out there. So who are we going to beat to get there?
Yeah. Well, they've got Kentucky this next week on the 17th. I think that's next Saturday after Sunday after Stanford. So that's going to be a fun week of volleyball. We'll have you back on Sunday to talk about the week.
Sounds great.
There you go. Thanks, Tanya. You're the best.
Yes.
Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history, joins us on the show. It's such a fast sport. I guess that's what I like about volleyball. And when you have a setter like Bergen Riley, you don't know where the ball's going. She's like that great point guard with the behind the back pass. She can set it behind her. She's got eyes in the back of her head. She's learning to set Andy Jackson at a high level. She's got Merritt Beeson in the middle that she's really set in because Merritt used to just be an outside hitter and just bang away. But now she's setting her in the middle. You got it. I like the chemistry with Becca Alec. I just think Nebraska has so many options, maybe more options than I've seen in years. And that's saying something when you're talking about Nebraska volleyball. But they do have 4 freshmen. That's good in that the future looks really bright. It's bad in that you might have to wait a little bit. I mean, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and these girls are only getting better and better. But I can't imagine how good they're going to be even next year or at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch this team kind of progress and kind of get there, and it's cool just like listening to the conversation. How many names kind of get dropped over the last couple of years at times, and I think everybody contributes, but there's kind of those names like you mentioned, the Nicklin names, Kinsey Knuckles, or names that just kind of dominate the volleyball conversation. And right now, you can just kind of throw a lot out there, so it seems to be a pretty well-rounded team.
The thing I like about them is they don't seem to be intimidated. Because they've been playing against the best of the best and junior national teams since they were so young. They've always played against the best. So what's somebody else that's the best?
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean to you when you face the best your entire life? It's like these McDonald's All-Americans that go to Duke every year. Nothing phases them when they get to college.
It's weird. It is weird. Just kind of when you compare that to the other sports and you think of the Dukes in football, the Ohio States in football, Dukes in basketball, and that conversation when somebody comes in, you're not committing to Nebraska volleyball thinking, okay, well, here's a chance at playing time. I mean, maybe, but you're going to have to fight it out, and you're going to have to fight it out against the best to get any sort of action. So, for Nebraska to be that program is incredible, and we'll see it moving forward. Again, I think that, the volleyball world is just on fire after watching Nebraska fill up Memorial Stadium. And so, I mean, I don't see this thing dying down anytime soon. Like you said, it's a game. So, I mean, the future is bright. The past was bright. The present's bright. It's all good in Nebraska volleyball.
I've talked to diehard football fans that were there for volleyball night when 2003 that said that was the best experience they had in Memorial Stadium ever, including football. That made me a little happy and a little sad at the same time. Because I hope I remember some pretty good times at Memorial Stadium growing up, watching games there. It wasn't my favorite experience, but it was way up there. It was way up there.
Now, obviously, they wouldn't get that crowd at your home game, but do you think if they go, invite a Wisconsin or even a Creighton, a big time top 25 matchup, you could get a similar crowd?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
I think you tell Nebraska fans to show up on the moon, they'll do it.
Pretty much, yeah.
They'll just do it. Ask Bach. I'll ask you some questions about college, a few about Colorado, what Nebraska should do, but we'll just spend the final segment going around the college football landscape. We'll do that coming up next.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees the 40-hour round, and their strong team culture makes it a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers vision and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at Gaina.com.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits 0 for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran for 90 minutes a game. Postgame show, sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Kreekak, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Warning, this ad will use the F word often, so listen at your own risk. Family fun, fun with friends, freedom from fuel, free Yeti cooler, free driveway delivery. Hey, this is Carl from Nebraska Golf Carts and Price Right Auto. And we have the all-electric Bentelli fun carts, and they are a blast. Plenty of fun colors, and these street legal cars come in both 4 and 6 passenger. Tell us you heard us on the ticket and get a free Yeti cooler with your purchase. Hurry, supply is limited. Check them out at 1235 West O in Lincoln or NebraskaGolfCarts.com.
Join us at this year's Ignite Lincoln 15 at Rococo Theater on Thursday, September 14th for an inspiring night of stories that spark change. Get your tickets at ignitelincoln.org. Don't miss this chance to be a part of something extraordinary.
Are you working in or looking to get into the electrical? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Like at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Bud Seinhorst, President and CEO of LIBA, the Lincoln Independent Business Association. Join us every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket for the LIBA Business Hour, as we discuss local business and highlight those who are thriving in the Lincoln area. It's the LIBA Business Hour, Saturdays from 9 to 10 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family. And as part of the family, even your meat and groceries. This week, they have your tailgate and barbecue needs. Enjoy all natural, fresh, boneless, skinless chicken breast for just $1.99 per pound. USDA choice boneless beef chuck roast for $3.99 per pound. And hickory smoked bacon for just $3.99 per 16-ounce package. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beer, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Join us at this year's Ignite Lincoln 15 at Rococo Theater on Thursday, September 14th for an inspiring night of stories that spark change. Get your tickets at ignitelincoln.org. This is a chance to be a part of something extraordinary.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Final segments. Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. Been a fun show. Jake Bachhoven sitting in today for Mike Melvin, who will be back next week on the IR this week. Kind of an ask. We used to do Ask Bach all the time.
That's
right. Jake Bachhoven is a college football dude. I mean, he knows everything about everything as far as college football is concerned. This is more local stuff, though. We haven't gotten to this question so far tonight. It was a bit of controversy. Apparently, it's the way that Deion Sanders motivated his team going into the Nebraska game. But Shedeur Sanders said that Matt Rule disrespected Pops Deion with some of the comments he made in the offseason about relying heavily on the transfer portal, which Colorado did, brought in 84 new players. And I don't remember specifically what Rule said, something like, it's just not the way we do business, to paraphrase. He also stood apparently on the Buffalo at the 50-yard line as Nebraska was going through their pregame ceremonies. And I don't know how much of this. I think a lot of this is just to motivate guys. I remember a story, and Colorado's always had this, where guys will make up stories just to motivate their teammates. I think it was I was trying to think of an offensive lineman. It was Zach Wiegert who might have come up with this, who said that Colorado had pipe cutters to cut the pipeline. They brought pipe cutters on the airline or something like that. And they were trying to, the pipeline. They were trying to, and he made up the story. He completely made up the story. Colorado didn't have pipe cutters, but he made up the story, and the offensive lineman got really mad, and they dominated Colorado. It was 94, 95. I think it was 94 that he might have come up with that story, or 95 when they played at Colorado. But I think this is made up by Shedeur. That, like, he's trying to find something about Matt Rule that he doesn't like, and it's easy to not like him because Matt Rule said this thing about the transfer portal and how Deion was building his team.
Well, I mean, I think throughout the offseason, there were there's a lot that were asked about Deion and what he was doing, and Matt Rule's not the type to just say, well, I respect call. He'll actually give you an answer. So, I mean, I think through that, you could find ways to be offended if you wanted to. Remember Tony Kornheiser, Wilbon just brought it, he said something somewhat indirectly about Deion Sanders, and they brought it up to make this huge thing. And so, I mean, I don't necessarily think there was too much as far as like a personal shot, but that's what Deion says it's personal. And we're all kind of wondering, like, I'm glad he's taken that because it is the rivalry. I don't know how it's quite personal, but now we kind of see how it was. They just kind of maneuvered words around to make it sound like Nebraska was, majorly against Colorado. And and it worked. And I think it was a good idea. And we heard all week from Colorado players about they hate Nebraska. And sometimes they don't know why, but at least they hate Nebraska. And so I think he motivated them well. I don't know if Nebraska did quite as much of that. Maybe I would have liked to see more of that. But I also don't mind being the bad guy. If it is true, so be it. I love rivalries where I would love Colorado and Nebraska meeting at the 50.
Isn't Miami, Nebraska one of your favorite college football rivalries of all time?
Yeah.
And when they came back to Memorial Stadium, was it 2012?
2014.
2014. Remember all the smack talk that happened on Twitter that week? It was great.
Yeah.
And Brock Heward, his call, you could tell he was on Nebraska's side, and the fact that he was having such a big game, and Nebraska was just ramming it down their throat, and he was joyous about it because of all the smack talk delivered by Miami. That's what makes college football great, is the smack talk. And to some degree, I miss Brian Bosworth. I miss Broderick Thomas. Broderick Thomas, of course, for the young kids that don't remember, back in the 80s, late 80s, nobody comes into our house and takes the keys to our house. And Oklahoma did every year.
Yeah, they did do that.
They did. And then he and Boz would get into the, and there was no social media at that time. They had to do it through the media. But I kind of miss that. I mean, it's what makes college football great. And if he has to do that, if he has to use some made-up story to get his team a little angry, fine.
Well, and just to add to those rivalries, though, I mean, Nebraska needs any sort of life, and I suppose you could argue that the win against Iowa last year was that. I mean, it depends on how much you really enjoyed that. I know some people really did. To me, it stopped Iowa from getting to the Big Ten West, but it was at the end of an era of a short era, albeit Mickey Joseph. So, I mean, I would have taken a win against from a permanent coach would have been nice. But in any case, my point is Nebraska's now lost 3 in a row to Colorado. What is it, 8 or 9 to Wisconsin, 7 out of 8 to Iowa. I mean, just all the games that you really they're winning against any of their rivals.
They haven't beat a ranked team in 22 tries.
Yeah.
I mean, let that sink in.
Yeah. That's a lot. And we've been there for all of them. We've sat down all,
and they're always in. It seemed like every one of them. I mean, there were a few where Ohio State just dominated or Michigan dominated, but they were in a lot of those games and had a chance to win. I mean, just by pure luck, by happenstance, you're going to win 3 of those games, right?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible not to win one of those 22 games against ranked opponents. I mean, that's how bad it is. And I've often said this over the last 5 years. Nebraska doesn't need coaches. They need a team of psychiatrists, because what they're dealing with right now is not as much physical as it is mental. It really is. You can see it. You can see it in big moments where guys, remember the quote from Mark Whipple last year? I don't think that these guys think they can win.
Yeah.
And that's true. You can see it on their faces, especially when games get, and I don't think they're trying to blow games. Sometimes it's an impossible play that happens right at the end of the game where Jackson makes a incredible catch against a cornerback who was slightly fooled on a play, and he has to get his foot in, and he does.
Yeah.
And a pass exactly where it was, and the officials have to not call a penalty, which they didn't. I mean, all those things have to happen for Minnesota to win that game. But and if I told you who that happened to without mentioning the name of the team, you would say Nebraska.
Well, and I think too, it's funny because I was talking to Harrison about it too, is that kind of his sense in on being on message boards or on social media is you remember a time when like people would really be happy that Nebraska lost because Nebraska beat everybody, especially in the Big 8 fan bases for like 35 straight years. Yeah. So beating Nebraska meant something. Watching Nebraska fans kind of struggle meant something. It was kind of fun to poke fun at. Now more than anything, you just get people telling you like, I feel bad for you guys. How does just watching week after week, you get your hopes up. I think the volleyball crowd kind of, put a little more split on Nebraska's fan. It was just like, how do you guys do this?
I had a friend that was so hot at poker one night that he got 4 of a kind and folded it because he felt so bad that he was taking everybody's money. I wish another team would just do that. That they felt so bad for Nebraska that they were going in at the 1 yard line. They just take a knee.
Yeah,
just give us a break because we would do that, but without trying. But we wouldn't be trying to do that.
Yeah,
we would do it.
We find a way to do that.
Unintentionally, we would do that. One more question. Do you think before we take off, we got about 3 minutes left in the show, and there's going to be no finish line tonight?
No, we're going to replay a Husker Extra Hour. If you missed it, previous for this show, it's the initial Husker Extra Hour with Sam McEwen and Tom Chattel. So stay tuned for that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be every week, right? Yeah. Before our show. So you always like a good lead in.
Oh yeah.
If you're a brand new sitcom, you always want Friends to be the lead in
That's
to
right.
that. So we're getting Tom Chattel and Sam McEwen to lead this show. So we're very happy about that. It'll boost we'll be on fire.
That's right.
In fuego. Do you think before we go, Bach, that Nebraska should just go to total rebuild mode? How many more games are you going to need to see before you say, let's just go with the younger guys, let's rebuild this thing and not try to rush anything? I mean, because that was the point that Matt Rule tried to make, that, hey, we want to win now because we have guys that can win now. Now it's looking less and less like that's the case.
Well, I'd wait until you're at least not bowl eligible. Again, I think this team still can, I'm less of the sky is falling crowd, although I understand it because the sky is falling on the offense. And so, it's hard to have any answers there, but I still think this is a team, this is a division where you can win a lot of games, 20-14, 20-17, whatever that may be. And I think you can still do that. You have to limit those turnovers, specifically at quarterback. I think you might do that with Harburg, not so much to get younger, just so that you have somebody that doesn't turn the ball over as much. And we'll see. I don't know if that's the case with Purdy or Harburg either, but it's going to be worth a shot. If you have, 2 or 3 turnovers in the first 3 quarters from Sims again against Northern Illinois, I don't see how you don't make that switch.
I think they should do a little of both. Try to rebuild, but also try to get young players ready. The only hope that they can win or get to a bowl game is that they find somebody, a wide receiver, who can make a play. It's not just that Jeff Sims has been inaccurate, and he has. Guys aren't really open.
Yeah.
In most cases, they're just not open. And I think some of that is that you just don't have guys that can get open. You don't have a Trey Palmer.
No. Who got a touchdown today, by the way?
Did he really?
Yeah.
Did you guys have it against the Vikings? I missed it.
There you go.
I missed it. Well, I would celebrate that.
Yeah.
Vikings lost to Tampa Bay, but my fantasy team came.
Yeah.
But they don't have a Trey Palmer. They don't have. No. Who's their best player on offense?
Well, that was kind of the disappointment too. Is they did find a way to get Billy Kemp the ball this week, but the whole there's kind of this narrative, I guess, among some of the fan base that Washington was out the first half of last week, made a difference the second half. Yeah. He came back in this game, just had 1 reception. So, they just, and again, that's my part of the problem with the offense in this, any sort of fix you have is I don't think they have the skill position players really for dynamic plays. And the one thing that I do wish they would do is use that running game to set up play action, because that's how you can get some open players. They seem to go to runs and then all of a sudden let's just go 4 wide and definitely pass, instead of setting it up for a play action when you expect them to run.
Yeah. Well, it's a long season, unfortunately, and fortunately.
Fortunately, I want a lot more games. Yeah,
I meant fortunately, and I'm glad that you came up with the answer that you did. Be patient. You still could make a bowl game. It could happen. Don't give up on the season yet. But there's got to be a balance, and there's got to be a decision made at quarterback, I think, within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe a solution to the Jeff Sims problem, and they can manage it and roll him out more, or try to do more spread option type of attack. There might be solutions to that problem without completely giving up and just going to the next guy up. Hey, it's been a fun show. Thanks,
Yeah,
Doc.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you doing it. Mike Melby will be back next week. It's Husker Rewind. Nebraska will have a game this week, and we'll talk about it. And you won't be here, though.
No.
But
hopefully you won't be talking about turnovers again.
No. But we'll be talking about Husker football, and we'll do it next week. Jake Bachhoven, Tom Stevens, we are out. We'll see you next week.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Hammond was very easy. I felt like I